Here to the Kraken segment, and lot to talk about. A lot of fans upset by a certain move that was made this past week, and a lot of fans happy with another thing that happened this past week. So we'll just get into it with the Kraken segment. We've got two games to look at. March 5th at the Winnipeg Jets, a 4-3 win, the second game of a back-to-back. A lot of excitement there, beating the Jets. I mean, they're a good team, and this was a tough game. Seattle back and forth in this one, finally able to get a late power play goal by Andrei Burakovsky, who finally breaks through. He scores that game winner. The Jets put on a hell of a push late. Joey Daccord makes a great save with what looked like an empty net almost. And the Kraken leave this one. They get the 4 points out of the back-to-back on the road. Fans felt great. Our player of the game was Jared McCann, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, 3 shots, and 2 hits on the night. McCann continues his hot streak there and continues to be one of the best players that the Kraken have. March 8th, a few days off. They come back home from that. It's funny with that Jets game because they went into that one. They got into Winnipeg at 3 in the morning, and they were able to put on a hell of a performance. Not so much of a performance on March 8th versus the Jets. The Kraken got shut out by a score of 3-0. Just a really odd game. The first 2 periods of this one, neither team was really able to get a good look. Through the first 2 periods, the Kraken had more expected goals. They had rung the crossbar. Tomas Tatar rung the crossbar. Joey Daccord was playing good. He just wasn't really seeing a lot of a lot of shots on him. It was hard. It's hard for a goalie when you're not able to get into the game like that. You're not able to see much of it. And Winnipeg got the first goal. Mark Scheifele was left all alone in front of the crease, and a through pass got to him, and he just had to maneuver around Joey Daccord to score that one. A little bit later into it, the Kraken were pushing. They really couldn't do too much. They didn't generate enough, and the Jets were able to add a second one as Jamie Alexiak and Will Borgen were pretty soft in front of the goal, and they allowed Winnipeg to get a rebound. It was actually Dave Lowry's son, Adam Lowry, who put home the rebound. They came right to him. The Kraken defensemen were way too soft in front of the net. The Jets added an empty net goal late to make it a 3-goal game. And so Seattle drops the first game of a 5-game homestand. Frustrating there, just because, you look at the road trip, you look at that first win of the week against Winnipeg, and you're like, wow, you come into the house of one of the best teams in the NHL. You had arrived that morning at 3 a.m. in Winnipeg, and you put out a big win. There were questions about whether or not you'd have Alex Wennberg at the time, which we'll get to in a minute, and you put out a great effort. And then you lose to the Jets like that. It was just a really sloppy game. It was not a lot of stoppage. There was only, I believe, 1 power play in this one, in the loss on the 8th, and you get shut out. It's always embarrassing to get shut out in your home building, and just with how little you generated offensively, it just looked bad. After the game, head coach Dave Haxtell said that the team lacked energy, but he also said that he liked their effort. Those seem like they contradict each other to me. And it's just weird, they had the energy, they had to get up in the win on the 5th when they arrived at 3 a.m. in that city, but they didn't have the energy when they had the time to fly back home and they had a day of practice before. So I don't know how to explain that to you. Injury-related news, unfortunately, on the 10th, which was Sunday, on the 10th, the 9th, Saturday. The team had practice following that shutout loss. Jaden Schwartz and Vince Dunn were not practicing with the team. Dunn had left the game during the road trip. He missed out after he missed that first Winnipeg game, and Jaden Schwartz left the second Winnipeg game with 8:20 left in the first period and was not back. Both are dealing with upper body injuries, and both are considered day-to-day. Dunn was practicing on his own the morning of the 9th, not with the team, and we did not see him. He practiced morning skate on the day of the 8th, but he did not practice at all that we saw on the 9th. So that's tough. On the 6th, we got the trade. Alex Wennberg got traded, as you know by now. The team traded center Alex Wennberg. Ron Francis eventually told us that the team had talked about an extension with Wennberg, but they weren't able to get anything they weren't able to come to the right compromise, and so ultimately they decided to trade him. Wennberg said he understood the decision, and he goes to the New York Rangers. The Kraken, in exchange for Wennberg, receive a second-round pick this year, this upcoming draft, I apologize, and a fourth-rounder in the 2025 draft while paying half of Wennberg's remaining salary. So that fourth-round pick originally belonged to the Stars. It becomes a third-round pick if Dallas defenseman Nils Lundqvist reaches 55 points combined from last season and this season, which is kind of a unique stipulation of sorts. So hoping that Nils Lundqvist does really well and is able to reach 55 combined points over these past from last year and this year. So Wennberg is 29. He's on the final year of a 3-year deal that pays him about $4.5 million annually. Seattle had conversations with him about an extension, but he wanted a longer-term deal. He's a high IQ guy. He's a good penalty killer. He can create short-handed chances. Great defensive player. He's been one of the top centers for the team. He's a big player in the analytics community, but his production doesn't always match up there. He had led the Kraken in ice time at the forward position. It had 9 goals, 25 points through 60 games this year. Tough one for Kraken fans to lose Wennberg. He had been a fan favorite. He was part of the team the inaugural year. His family had been such a big aspect in the community as well. He'd been a big advocate for the LGBTQ plus community. So on a lot of different levels, it was tough to lose Alex Wennberg. But considering the fact that he was going to become a free agent at the end of the year, that they couldn't come to terms on an extension, it makes sense for them to trade him. Getting a second rounder is nice, especially considering that this deal gets them more than some of the other players who are arguably better, what they had returned in trades prior to this. So I'm okay with it. Just because you come to the realization that it was going to happen, and because of the return. So the Kraken have been drafting well in recent years, considering they've only been around for 3 years. So I'm excited to see who the second round pick becomes, and maybe that third round pick if Lundqvist is able to get to 55 points combined. But obviously it's tough for a lot of reasons. On the 8th, hours before the trade deadline, we found out that the team had announced that they had agreed to contract terms on an extension with forward and alternate captain Jordan Eberle on a 2-year, $4.75 million AAV deal to keep another member of the inaugural team around. The 33-year-old ranks 4th on the Kraken in scoring this year, totaling 37 points, 14 goals, 23 assists in 58 games. This season, when Eberle has been on the ice during 5-on-5 play, the Kraken have outscored their opponents by a score of 42-24. According to Natural Stat Trick, his 42 on-ice goals for are the most of any Kraken forward this year, and his plus 18 on-ice goal differential leads the team. Lost me for a second there. The forward had a milestone game back on January 28th against the Blue Jackets with 2 goals and 1 assist, becoming the first player in franchise history to score 2 power play goals in a singular game. The second player in franchise history to score 50 goals in total with the Kraken, and tied the franchise record for points in a single period with 3. He's got some big milestones coming up. He has 695 points, 296 goals, and 399 assists. Now through 999 regular season games. His next game will be his 1,000th, which will be big. Obviously trying to get to 300 goals and 400 assists as well. He was the team's first ever All-Star back in 2022. So that was big news as well. And has been a consistent playoff performer, scoring the game-winning goal in Game 4 of their first-round playoff matchup against the Colorado Avalanche last season. So I know that made a lot of people happy. There have been conflicting reports about, Eberle wanting a third deal, a third year on his contract, that if they weren't able to come to an agreement on an extension, then he would be traded. Thankfully, hours before the deadline, right when I arrived at the Kraken Community Iceplex, we found out the news that he would be returning. So that was nice. It was a little stressful worrying about that, but good to see them get that deal locked up. He's been such a great mentor for Matty Beniers, and should be when Shane Wright's up next year. And his on the ice play has been great, especially in the past 20 or so games. He's been just about a point per game player. So really happy with that. Really happy with the 2-year deal. I thought maybe a third year might be a little bit much, and especially if the Kraken are going to make a splash of some sorts in the offseason, they really want to save as much money as they can. They still might make some moves this offseason in order to get a deal like that done, but we'll see. So that's about it. We had some minor league stuff ahead of the deadline. Cale Fleury was called up from the Coachella Valley Firebirds and then sent back down as a paper transaction. And just in case, especially with Dunn out, they needed another defenseman. They were able to get that. So we look ahead. The Kraken sit at a 28-win, 24-loss, 11 overtime loss record. That's 67 points so far on the year. They're good at 6th in the Pacific Division. They're still hanging around the wild card picture. They are right now, they're 8 points out of a wild card spot, which it's unlikely, but I've seen crazier things happen. They don't have the tiebreaker against the Flames. They're tied with the Blues and the Wild as well for that spot, but they are higher in the rankings. It's going to be tough. But the two teams that are occupying the wild card spots right now are teams that the Kraken will play in this month of March. That includes the Las Vegas Golden Knights and the Nashville Predators. That first game of this upcoming week is March 12th versus the Las Vegas Golden Knights. That's a 7 p.m. Pacific time start, and Jordan Eberle's 1,000th career game. March 14th versus the Washington Capitals is a 7 p.m. start. All these games are on Reed Sports, by the way. Washington struggled. I mean, they're 3 points out of a wild card spot, so technically they're hanging around and they're in better position than the Kraken. And then March 16th versus the Nashville Predators. Like I mentioned, two of the teams that are in those wild card spots that you want to get into, you play. So it's up to you. You control your own destiny. I know not everybody likes that saying, but in this regard, in a lot of aspects, it's true. March 16th versus the Nashville Predators is a 7 o'clock start. That is Mascot Madness night, which is, oh goodness, I can only imagine what's going to go on with that. And we will throw it to a clip here from the 89th Annual Seattle Sports Star of the Year Awards, where we dealt with some Mascot Madness of our own.
How long have you been a captain? I mean, I feel like this is new information. Oh, yeah, there you go. Goodness. You feeling good about Mike McDonald? Yeah? Ryan Grubb, too. I don't know if we'll see Harry around here. And there's Sammy. Oh, my goodness. Wow, this is great. I mean, you look too, buddy. What do you think about – I was asking about the jersey. Oh, I saw your new home yesterday. Well, 2 days ago. I'm sorry. Long Acre's pretty nice. It's nice for you guys to have your own facilities and everything. Sammy, good to see you. Oh, goodness. Oh. Thank you. I don't know if you can. Look into this camera right here. You know, Bowie does have a distinct smell. I wasn't sure if that was real, but it is real. This might be a record. Because we did this for a minute when the Winter Classic jerseys revealed. I think this is over a minute. It's good luck. We're up 2-1. We're up 2-1. Oh. Good to see you. Go see that one right there. Thank you for what you do, too. Don't give him any weapons.
No guarantees. Oh, a camera boy.
Oh, you turned away from me.
No, yeah.
The flash is so bright, Bowie. Oh, my eyes. Oh. Thank you, Bowie. One thing for you. I'll do my best. I'll count them off. Besides you, who's the most fashionable mascot? Liz? Harry? Sammy? Seawolves mascot? Doppler's over there. He's got a big head. Among those, which Moose is here. Harry, Sammy, Blitz, you can stop me whenever you. Yeah. Can I squeak your nose? Good. Oh. Oh. Okay. Thank you, Bowie. Get some books. I'll see you in a few days. Oh. Thank you.
See you guys soon.
I forgot that was 2 days from now.